They're not diplomats. They are businessmen, close friends, relatives of Trump. So majority of time, it's quite obvious they discuss with Putin different business projects and possibilities and so on and on and on. But Putin wouldn't get away from the continuation of war. So that stopped for a while. Now, so Zelensky supposedly had very good meeting with Trump in Washington, New York. Where is it? Okay. So who is going now to Kiev work with Zelensky? Vitkov and Kushner. Again, they're not diplomats. They are businessmen, friends of Trump. So it seems to me, I always ask myself, why Trump is so interested in a peace between Ukraine and Israel? Okay, let's see. Okay, there is a peace, fine. So there's no fighting anymore. Now, if there is no peace, they continue to fight, killing thousands of people a week, not even in a month, a week. So how it can hurt Trump? Let's see, Ukraine lost 5,000 people, Russia lost 10,000 people. What's in it for Trump? Why he be so concerned about it? He doesn't care about lives of American people. So why would he care so much about lives of Ukrainian or Russian people or both? And I could never find the right answer, but I can see now the pattern. So he sends Kushner and Vitkov to Ukraine, and before he was sending them to Putin. So there is already track record of what's happening with Putin. Now he wants to create an opening, and that's why he lured Zelensky into the United States, promising him interceptors and license. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come here. Okay, here is a Kushner, here is a Vitkov. Work with them, make things happen. I think Trump really he wants to make both Russia and Ukraine as weak as ever possible. And only that will open for him all kind of business deals. When countries are so weak, they will accept almost anything. So that, I think, is a grand strategy of Trump. That's exactly what he is doing. See, what's your opinion?
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that I mean, first of all, the only thing I'll add to what you said, I agree with everything that you said, but I also will add that I think that a lot of this he's doing to show the might of his political, of his presidency, that I can bully anybody, and that there are also economic interests because he's done deals with energy companies. So is he gonna pocket more money as a president, knowing that he's only got 2 more years left until he leaves, so he can walk away from this thing richer, having used the presidency to make money for his own special interests, and then just walk away. And what the whole notion of what they call scorched earth, he leaves the presidency and the world is a mess. Now, 1/3 of the American people today do not support the Iran war. And I think this is going to cost them in the midterms. We don't know what's going to happen with the democratic socialist movement that they're on the rise right now, but I think that's my take on it. And so it's he's also costing himself political capital in the United States, but I don't think he really cares anymore. I think that's my opinion. I think now he's just trying to create as much of a mess as he can, because when he's going to leave, he's just going to want to have as much money for his children and his grandchildren, and restore some supremacy to the Trump empire. Realize he lost a lot of money in the first term when they were coming after him, right? That's my only explanation for his behavior. I
Well,
mean,
another explanation is he wants to be every day in the news. So we
yeah,
see he says Zelensky, okay, we will provide license to produce the interceptors. Okay. So what's next day? So he'll say the same thing. Yes, I will provide Ukraine with license. No, he goes another way around. I don't think that we should provide license to Ukraine. It's very expensive. The weapons, we should not do that. Probably, I haven't made a decision yet. So he's baking back and forth, and a little bit left and a little bit right, just to be in the news. That's all what he cares.
Let me ask you this. So I'm gonna defer to you. You know, in terms of what do you think if the goal is to bring resolution to these conflicts as soon as we can, what would be your strategy for what would be in the best interest of Ukraine and the United States? How would we negotiate? What would you like to see in terms of a negotiation of peace?
Okay, if Ukraine really wants to have a peace on reasonable conditions, because if you are saying peace, just give everything, whatever you got, just get your peace. Ukraine is not going to do that. U.S. has, as I said, and the U.S. represented by Donald Trump. Who else? They may have some ulterior motives, which are not necessarily centered on the peace itself. There are ideas of making some financial gains and get some more influence in the region. So therefore, you cannot, when you ask me what's the interest of Ukraine and the United States, they're different. They're not the same. Let me start with that. And you understand why. So if that's the case, then let's talk separately about U.S. interests, and you know what they are, and Ukrainian interests. Ukraine now is doing very well on the front lines on drones attacks. They have great advantage on the front lines. So there may be even a new goal for Ukraine as we speak, not just to get a peace by giving some territories to Russia, but in fact get Russians away from all Ukrainian territories back to the borders of 1991, but it was dissolution of Soviet Union, and Ukraine had its borders and so on. So we'll have to see how well Ukraine. What I would say to Ukrainians at this moment: don't rely on Trump and United States. Okay, talk to them and say yes, you're a great man, you're a great leader. Okay, if you have time and desire to do so, please do. But work with Europeans. In many cases, they have equivalent of the weapons that United States produces. So get those, work with them. They're financing you as we speak, not United States, doesn't provide any financing whatsoever. So I thought that there may be some opening for Ukraine from the Trump, because Ukrainians, they bombarded 2 Iranian ships in the Caspian Sea. So there is a kind of a picture of a common enemy that Ukraine bravely attacked, and I thought it would maybe improve the relationship between Trump and Zelensky. But if Trump has only his financial interest, so that's neither here nor there, until there will be a vehicle providing, and that's where Kushner and what's his name, Witkov, they want to create some kind of infrastructure for Trump's financial interest being advanced in the case of peace, in the case of war, in any case.
Do you think that the one thing that I've observed though is that I think that I mean it's hard to figure out what Putin would want. I mean, it seems that
Continue the war. Nothing but
yeah,
continue the
yeah.
war.
So there's no. So I mean, this is the challenge, right? He's just going to keep. I don't know how he forces his hand. I mean, eventually, will his economy just deplete? Will he be? There's been rumors about him being taken out of power. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but it's so unpopular now in Russia. People are starving. Their military is in complete morale is down. But perhaps he may be kind of watching Iran very closely, understanding that if the United States his attention is taken away from Ukraine, can they support? Do they have the resources to support the military operations in Iran, and at the same time equip Ukraine with the resources they need. So if their hands are tied behind their back, one hand tied behind the back, imagine if that hand were able to be used to help Ukraine. So I think that's something now to think about, is that it was hard enough to end this war when we were only fighting one war, but now we're fighting two wars, and Trump is basically saying, "Oh, I want peace in Iran, I want peace in Ukraine." I think you raise a good point. He just wants to be in the news, which actually works because it takes the Democrats away. When I talk politics, it takes the Democrats away from their strategy of how do we focus on candidates that focus on the economy? How do we find a president that can bring the parties together, Democrats together, and unite so we can get America back on track? But you're so focused. Every news show I watched, I quit watching it, Shasha, because CNN and these other shows, it's called the Donald Trump channel. I
Yeah,
mean, every single news show is just about Trump. They don't even talk about issues anymore. I have to come to Pod TV or go to Fareed Zakaria. I think he's the only journalist left that talks about the issues,
agree. Yes.
right? Um,
Yes.
and,
I'm
and
watching.
everything else is, that's why I hate the news, breaking news, because breaking news is Trump news,
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
right?
Yes.
And I think that's really, that's been my theory all along. I think that's exactly his plan. That I think that he just every day he's doing something to make the next news cycle. And every time he does, he gets them focused on that so they don't focus on thing. And I don't know. It's a conspiracy theory, but I tell you what, I think we're onto something.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you, Steve. And it's quite depressing to see that although he's going down in all the polls, it's still unclear whether the Democrats will do so well in the midterm elections. They have a great chance, but it's not for certain. They have to work very, very hard at it. And this is unclear to me whether Democrats should somehow to keep the centrist agenda or going left to the socialist, communist, and so far left ideas. It's very unclear to me because left ideas are very popular these days in the Democratic Party, and maybe not just Democratic Party. I think a lot of disenfranchised Republicans who are doing not so well under Trump, maybe they will be enthusiastic about this leftist agenda. What's your take on it?
That's the $1 million question. I mean, I think that you're seeing, and myself included, I lost a Democratic primary. Incumbents that have a much more viable chance to win with experience are losing to the Democratic Socialists, right? And I think that we don't know whether that's going to hurt their chances in winning some of these close elections, because they're bringing people that are far to the left to run against really conservatives, and then it leaves the independents, the moderates, the unaffiliated voters, which call them in the United States unaffiliated voters, with no choice of what they're going to do, right? So I think Mamdani is getting a lot done in New York. He's delivering on what he promised. So whether it's going to work long term, we'll see. But he is trying to provide lower rents, get the economy moving, getting people working again. So I personally believe, in my opinion, to answer your question, that I think democratic socialism in the United States is, in golf. I'll use the analogy. You can have a good short game in golf, but you also need a good long game. You need a big driving range to hit the ball long, right? So I don't know whether in the long-term interest it's going to help them if they want the presidency back. I don't see Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as a nominee of the party helping them win a national presidential election, right? And make no mistake, every day that goes by, the concern is her poll numbers are rising as a Democratic contender for the presidency. So that's my take on it. I feel like,
Steve, the more you think about it, basically the goal of Democrats, you can formulate it as to make life of American better. Okay, it's kind of very generic situation, but the left Democrats, they have the same agenda. They want to make lives of American better. So if they could work with the centrist Democrats and without calling themselves socialists or communists or anything else, and just to present their ideas how to make life of American better, I think that strategy probably
Hey,
could
and that's a great. We have historical precedents for that. If you look at one of the most famous American presidents, obviously, is Lyndon B. Johnson, who
yes,
succeeded Kennedy.
yeah.
And Johnson was known for civil rights, the Voting Rights Act, the Great Society. And but there was a lot of people opposed to voting rights acts in the southern states and even some of the northern states. But this was a time when political parties, even though there was divisions within those parties, he had to get the Dixiecrats, the Southern Democrats, to work with the other Democrats to come up with what was good for the country, to enable them to win and get a big political win and a decisive victory for their party. And that's exactly what President Johnson was able to do. So that you laid out something good. I think that the Democrats have to do is they have to get the socialists, like the AOCs, like the Bernie Sanders, to sit down with the moderates and come up with a strategy that can win. What I would do if I were them, there's a great book I would recommend to anybody watching the show, is Team of Rivals by Doris Kearns Goodwin. And it's about the story of Abraham Lincoln and how after the Democratic nomination, Republican nomination, he was Republican, was over, he brought his allies together in a room and they all came together to help him win the presidency. Salmon Chase, Steve Seward, these were all his political foes, right? So you know what I would do? A secret meeting that they could call to get all the Democrats together and to say which Democrat can win the White House. Is it Newsom? Is it Bashir? Is it Mark Kelly? And then identify, okay, we're going to run this guy as the head or lady as the head person, and then if they win, these are the Secretary of State, these are the cabinet. A unified party that would consolidate the money and resources and help them do exactly what you said. A winning strategy for Democrats that focuses on economic security, jobs, countering inflation, building out infrastructure in America, and as we've talked about in this show, a foreign policy that's using power to negotiate peace, not just wielding the power. Remember, it was Roosevelt who once said, "Speak softly, but carry a big stick." The big stick isn't so much bombing countries and saying you're going to pulverize them. It's how do I get these countries to work with us so that the world can be in a more peaceful state, and that way that. So that's my take on it, and I think it's important that we look as analysts at history to see where there's precedence for what is going on today.
Shiv, actually, I would recommend when you have that united meeting of Democrats agreeing, working together, just do a very simple thing. Just delete words of socialism and communism from their vocabulary whatsoever. You can continue to do the same thing what you've done for the last 10, 20, whatever years. Just get these two words out, because first of all, nobody understands these two words properly. You yourself don't understand this words properly. So why do you need them? Just delete and continue to do everything as before.
Yeah, I know exactly. And I think having a conversation, and today, I don't know how it is in Canada, but in the United States today, everything is driven by the social media, Facebook posts, the
Yeah,
tweets,
same about
and, I think sitting down and having conversations with each other, getting back to the fight, when I was in college, no one gave Bill Clinton a chance. He was going to McDonald's, he was going to diners, he was sitting down in small communities that were more conservative at that time. And having a conversation about American issues and American values, and I think it's those kinds of conversations at the kitchen table that can often help drive policies that make a difference for Americans. And I just don't see us doing that anymore. Everything's a soundbite, everything's a CNN, and this is the first time where I have to get my news sources from other areas, because I just don't come home at night and turn on CNN. Because I can go find out what Trump did by reading the New York Times, Washington Post. Economist I like the Economist the best in terms of more of a objective breakdown of what's going on. But
I noticed one interesting thing. I have actually a few friends here in the Toronto area. who are Republicans in name, but anyway, they are for Trump and his policies. And I noticed when you converse with them and you are discussing something, the moment you say something that is slightly against Trump or his policies or anything, the conversation stops. They are not able to carry a normal civil conversation to say, okay, I have my point of view and explain why these things are. It absent, absolutely. They are not prepared. And I think that's probably something about all Republicans, not just a few of my friends. And you know why? I think I have an answer. Their policy is not to make life of American people better. No. Their policy is Freedom 25 and whatever you want to call it, to keep the power forever. That's all they are concerned about. Keep the power forever. Get anybody out of the way. Keep the power.
It's a gladiator sport. You're right. I mean, having been in politics for 14 years, now I'm out. And here's the beauty of it. I'm actually now out of my depression. I'm enjoying my life again. I'm able to sit down on news shows like this and talk about issues. I'm able to not be worried about beating someone down so I can be in power. You know, that's all American power. It's like a gladiator sport. You
Yeah.
go in there, you get your popcorn out, you watch people beat each other up. And my joke, it's like Rocky 2, and Apollo and Rocky were so beat up. You probably watched the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
You know, you don't even know how do you work with each other when you beat each other up like this. I think good government is about making policies, getting people to work together. I hope the only hope for our country. I've got a daughter that's an aspiring journalist. She was at New York Times, trying to get a job at the Washington Post. My son's a biomedical engineer, trying to be a doctor. But I hope the younger generation, that's the only hope, that the older generation will eventually die out and people can come in and learn how to work with each other again. And I think the next president of the United States, well, if it's Bashir, he'll probably be the youngest president since Kennedy. But hopefully they'll elect a president that's young again. I think that could be a start, right?
Yeah.
We went from Obama to now it's going up in age every year. So getting a president that's like in his, I think Bashir's early 40s, which would be
Yeah.
nice to have a president in the
Very
40s.
impressive, very impressive candidate.
Yeah, I think so. But I think having someone younger, he could identify with younger people in America.
Yes.
And I actually, the more and more I get to know him, I like Bashir. I think Newsom's got the best chance because of the institutional money behind him. But every day that goes by, California is a bit of a mess. I think it's hard. But the charisma, the telegenic presence.
So maybe they can create a ticket together.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That could be a good ticket. Newsom, Bashir, Bashir, Newsom.
Yeah.
And then I like Buttigieg as a Secretary of Defense. I think
Yes.
he'd be incredible. And then maybe Mark Kelly as Secretary of State, or you have to get a strong
So you
female
have
in there.
a good pool of talents. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also Kamala Harris. I mean, if she's not going to run for the VP, we could always bring her back in some capacity in the cabinet, like Secretary of State, like Hillary Clinton, because she is known around the world and has relationships with world leaders. So that could be interesting. Bring Kamala back in the fold, but not as the vice president, as the Secretary of State. I think she would do it, or the Attorney General of the United States, because she
Well,
was.
I'll tell you one thing that obviously the next candidates will be running through primaries in a couple of years' time. Okay.
Yeah.
Primaries will show big time who is worth what, and I'm pretty sure there is no manipulation. So there will be American people will really see all their possibilities and decide who is the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Elections in Ukraine. It's time coming at the end of the war, but the end of the war could be in 1 year, could be in 10 years. So this is a lot of uncertainties. There is in my opinion, there's a growing crisis about the Zelensky's presidency, and there are a lot of capable people who would replace him, but it's impossible to do without election. So we'll see
Great.
how this will develop. Steve, thank you so much for today's program. Always enjoyable. And
Yeah, I'll see you on Tuesday, and thank you so
yeah.
much for allowing me to be on the show. Really excited and stepping up a little bit with getting back in the attire of a journalist.
Mhm.
First step. No, I
Excellent.
really did enjoy the show. Thank you, and have a good weekend. And
And you have a great weekend, and all our listeners. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye bye.